Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be solving all of your problems when it comes to making rice and peas. Now, the problem most people run into is that they use too much water. They either use too much water or they don't use the right kind of rice. Now, what you have to do, this here is parboiled rice. Parboiled rice is the best kind of rice when you're making rice and peas. White rice will make your rice too gummy, too wet, all that kind of stuff. You need the right kind of rice and you need the right amount of water. Too much water and the wrong kind of rice will mess up your rice and peas. So let's go over our ingredients. I have here 1.5 cup of red kidney beans. Okay, this is 2 3/4 cup of parboiled rice. I have a can of coconut milk. I have 1/2 teaspoon of ground allspice. I have 1/2 tablespoon of salt, 4 garlic cloves, a few sprigs of thyme, and 3 scallion here. So the first thing we're going to do is wash our peas and boil them. Okay, so here we put our clean peas in here. Now you can soak your peas overnight or you can use a pressure cooker. I did not soak my peas overnight, so we're just gonna boil it. It's gonna take about 2.5 hours to fully cook these peas. Your first order of business is to cook these peas. So I'm going to add 4 garlic cloves in, and now we're going to put our water in. So I used approximately 14.5 cups of water. And the reason why we have to use so much water is that you're going to lose some of this volume through the process of evaporation. So what will happen is your peas will boil, your peas will cook. Some of this water will gradually disappear, and the water that's left over is the water that you'll use to cook your rice. So now I'm going to cover this, put it on a pot on the stove, and then boil it until the peas are cooked. Okay, so I turned my fire up really high because what we're doing is really boiling this out. And I am going to cover it. Make sure you cover it with a pot that has a hole on the lid. This will release some of the pressure that's inside that'll build up. If not, you'll find your peas bubbling over onto the stove. So this will take about 2.5 hours to boil. So it's been about 1.5 hours since our beans started cooking. As you can see, some are a little bit cooked, most of them are not. So we're just gonna continue to let this boil until it's actually ready. Okay, so it's been about 2.5 hours and I can say that our peas are now cooked. Do you see how most of them have split open? So this is cooked. It's a little bit slightly overcooked, but it's good enough. What I'm gonna do is just fish out some of the garlic cloves because they might not be desirable when you're eating. So this is what I'm gonna do, fish them out, and then we're going to add our coconut milk and what have you. Okay, so as you can see, we started out with like 14.5 cups of water, and as you can see, like I told you, most of the water will evaporate. So when you do it like this, there's no need to even measure how much water you have left. Is pour in our coconut milk and our ground seasoning. So I have my son here who's helping me. So go ahead and pour in that can of coconut milk. Okay, and now
we put in...
This is thyme and scallion. He's going to add the thyme and the scallion. We have half a tablespoon of
I want to pour this.
salt, half a teaspoon of ground allspice. You can use pimento seeds, but I prefer the ground version because then you won't have a bunch of pimento berries in the rice. Here you go. Put it in. Oh, good. So what we're going to do now is stir it around. And we're going to allow this to bubble up for maybe 15 minutes, and then we'll add our rice. Okay, now we're washing our rice. Time for us to add our rice.
Can I do it?
Hold on. No. Okay, so this is it. And one thing before I cover this, one thing I like to do is just look to see if I have too much liquid in my pot. Too much liquid in my pot will cause my rice to be too like clumpy. It'll be soft like porridge. This is what you want your peas and your rice to look like just before you cover it. There you go. Well, would you look at this? So this is like 20 minutes after I started boiling up the rice. A lot of people will tell you, oh, you can't fluff up the rice. You can't put a fork in it. Not true. The only thing that will mess up your rice is too much water. Okay, so yes, you can use a fork in your rice. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you right now. Look, I'm going to evenly mix it.
Really? Mix it.
Yes, let's mix it. Just to make sure that the rice will be cooked. Oh, stop. Just to make sure that the rice will be evenly cooked and the heat is well distributed. Yes, you can. So, of course, this is not finished yet, but it is almost there. Let's cover it back up and continue to cook the rice until all of the liquid is evaporated. I'm just going to show you one of my tricks. Another thing that I do to take out a lot of the moisture from the rice is I leave the lid cracked open so that some of the steam can escape. And I do this while the rice is cooking. It's only been another, 10 minutes, and look, almost done. So there it is, all ready. I am making some oxtail to go with it. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. I got my fork. The rice isn't sticky.
Hey, you messed up my...
See how nice and shelly the rice is?
Yeah? Yeah? Yummy in my boot.